But what I want to give you, as we mentioned about the exam, you've seen it and you kind of got an idea of where you're at. So this is your game plan. I'm giving you your game plan for recalibration, right? This is going to be your recalibration game plan right here. And that's what I want to give you is how do I recalibrate? You're not going to start over from ground zero and study everything, right? Don't you don't feel like you have to do that. All right. So you're like 70% there. You've seen what it is that you have to face when you go take this exam on exam day. And I'll just start with that. On page 51 in your process group of practice guide, if you have this, the role of the project manager, right? That's important. What I suggest is take a week or two and read through some of these concepts because that's how you get past the 50-50 on the exam, right? That's the nuance of the exam. The 50-50 questions are there to test how deep have you gone on that thing that they're testing you on. That's what the 50-50s are there to do because it's very close to lean left or lean right, and you get the answer wrong. Some of them are obvious, but that's what that 50-50 is there. Like, how well do you know the role, the environment, EEFs, enterprise environmental factors, internal and external. Like, do you understand that concept? Do you understand the concept of OPAs? Right? These two inputs or ingredients, I would say, are the majority of the inputs on most of the processes within project management, not only mostly in the predictive sense, but also in the agile. Environmental factors going to have an impact on agile projects, just like they are on predictive project or hybrid project. OPAs, organizational process assets, are going to have the same impact on agile projects as they do predictive projects. So it's not indicative to just the predictive approach to project management. It applies to project management as a whole. The Agile framework was introduced doing PMP Guide 6 back in like 2017 or something like that. And it's been used in the IT software industry since like the early 2000s, right? So it's been around. And so why did they take so long to add it to the flow? I don't know, but I want you to get that, right? And then the other things we need to know is the three approaches: predictive, hybrid, agile. A lot of planning, very against change, and a long process. Agile, not no planning, but less planning, because with this approach, we know we're in an environment we don't know a lot. Over here, we know a lot. That's why it's predictive. Because we know a lot of things and we try to get a lot of things before we build a plan, and we're working off a plan of the mindset that we know a lot. Over here, we're working the plan in short duration because we don't know a lot, and we want to work a little bit, learn a little bit, work a little bit, learn a little bit until we complete the project through sprints, 1 to 4 weeks, no more than 30 days, with these project cycles. Over here, we're not operating like that. We're doing the work until it's done, right? That's where, until that deliverable is done, we're not prioritizing work. We do that through building out a schedule and building out activities, the network diagram where we're laying out the activities and we're sequencing those activities and putting durations and time to them. Where in the agile sense, we're developing a product backlog and we're sequencing those activities based off of the notion of the Agile Manifesto of frequent delivery. So what does that mean? We stack the easy stuff first to deliver to the customer to keep them happy, and we leave the hard stuff to the end. But through the whole cycle, they're getting things. Over here, they're waiting. They gotta wait. Y'all done yet? Y'all done yet? Y'all done yet? But over here, we're at the mindset of delivery, 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 value, value, value. Over here is you'll get it when we're done with it. That's my way of looking at it. So you got your three approaches of project management. Then you have your 5 process groups, right? You got your 5 process group. Even though Agile doesn't have a distinct initiating, planning, execution, monitoring, controlling, it's still there. It's still there. When you start off, there is an initiating phase where we get the requirements and we develop a product backlog. Okay, boom. Once that's done, now we start planning how we're going to do that. We do sprint planning, and it might be 2 weeks, it might be 4 weeks. Then we execute what we plan. And then as we're executing, we're doing the monitoring, controlling, and then that sprint closes, and then the cycle starts all over again. Over here, it may be a long execution cycle of completing everything before we even get to actually closing. So, what am I explaining is what you have to understand for this exam. Is not really cut and dry, because some of those questions, if we remember, they will mix it, and they'll be talking about agile, and some of those answers might be predictive, but they also apply to the agile approach too. If you doing your practice questions, if you've seen that, so knowing the concept, these basic concepts, I think, is where you need to be before you approach this exam. Um, key key item with the mindset is this exam is based off a lot of concepts. So therefore, it is given at a high level. What does this mean? Very wide, but narrow, but shallow, right? So if you find yourself on a subject down here, you're too deep in the weeds, right? Your job is to stay right above here and make sure you get all this information left and right first, right? And that's where you want to study, because you can't study everything. There's just too much for you to study, and so that's why I offer some of these approaches to going about the material. And the one I feel like a lot of, just by the show of hands, Jameer and Tim, give me a thumbs up if you use the content outline during your study. Okay, you did. Okay. And so that's good. That's good. So you are already there. And this is what I got to say. I don't know how much you used it, or how well did you stay to it, but I would suggest, as you go forward this time for efficiency, and even though Rano, you're gearing up, I want you to think about this. So we have the people domain, we have the process domain, and we have the business domain, right? We know this is a 42% of the exam, this is 50% of the exam, and this is 8% of the exam, right? And that's what the exam looks like, all right? When it comes to the exam content outline, we know within those 3 domains, there are 14 tasks, 17 tasks, and 8 tasks that you have to be able to complete as a project manager. That's what they're testing you on, right? That's what you're testing. That's what they're testing you on. So as you go around this time, and then Ronald, as you go, what I have found over probably the last year working with students preparing, they always give me the feedback that their score, the cumulative score, is not where they want. And I think once you get your cumulative score to 70%, I would say 80% or higher is what you're shooting for. If you could make 80% or higher in your text practice exams, those of you who have O2O, use those resources. If you use a study hall live with PMI, I recommend that one. It's pretty solid, I think, and I've seen some of it. It's gotten better over the years. But what I suggest is what I suggest is as you're working through these domains, work until you hit that 80% in people. Don't try to go, let me get a little bit of this, let me get a little of that, let me get no. Work the domain first. All right. Once you get 80%, then move to processes. You get your 80% or higher, then move to business. All right. Once you're hitting 80% consistently across the board, or whatever your percentage goal is, then go, oh, let me take a 50 question practice exam. So I'm gonna do 25 questions. I'm gonna do 25 questions here. I'm gonna take 20 questions here, and I'm gonna do 5 over here. Right? Now you have a balanced exam based off of whatever questions amount you take. So if you take 50, you do 100, ensure that you're getting enough. All right. And this is how you avoid going into the exam bombing a domain. At a minimum, like Tasha said, everybody's posting above target. Like that's cool and all, but who cares? Like at the end of the day, you want your exam, and you want your PMP, and you want to move on with your career. A doctor who gets a C is still practicing medicine, right? You know, he's still going to be able to practice, or she be able to practice. So this is what I suggest: working your domain, then move across, because at least you've worked and focused your attention, and then you could go to the next, and then you go to the next, and then during after you complete this phase, which is after you complete that phase, that's your prep, right? That's going to be your prep phase, I would say. And this phase where you start testing more, right? 50 questions on the weekend. On the weekends, you bump it up to 100, because we're trying to build our testing endurance and get our mind going. And during the week, 5 to 10 questions daily, people. That's it. If you don't have an app, or you're not exercising 5 to 10 questions a day, you can't go. Once you get in study mode, don't go a day without at least studying one concept, one thing you didn't miss. So why I suggest 5 to 10 questions. So if you miss 2 items out of that 5 for the day, that's what you need to study today, because the other 8, you already know it. So studying stuff you already know doesn't do anything for you. I promote active learning. So what I've been telling folks, and those of you who were planning in the military, is my 1/3, 2/3 method, right? Read, practice questions, active study. active study. You got an hour, spend 20 minutes reading and 40 minutes practice the questions. Don't waste your time. People said, I used to tell people a lot, they used to kind of like, Chris, I don't have enough time to study. And I was like, well, I can't help you with that because that's a personal problem. But then I started thinking about that. Like I need to find a way. And this popped in my head one time. And we used to 1/3 planning and then 2/3 for practice and rehearsals. So when we hit the objective, we know exactly what we're doing because we done did it so many times. Same thing applies here. 40 minutes of questions. 40 minutes of questions. Active learning, not watching videos. That's like reading, right? You're not doing nothing, but you're probably doing something else unless you're like walking or cleaning the house, something mundane, but you're actually keyed in on what you're listening to. But spend that 20 minutes reading about those two things you miss and then spending 40 minutes practicing it. Right? That's how you make best time. You got an hour to study. If you have 3 hours to study, first hour, do that. Second hour, do that. Third hour, do that. That way you're not spending 3 hours trying to read. All right, we spend
That
an
makes
hour
sense.
reading. You got that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's be efficient. It's a game. This is a standardized test, right? They're giving you the gameplay, how to go about this, and that's what
Are you on
I.
mute? Because I can't hear you.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me? Hello. 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 They
Yeah, I
lost
can hear
me.
you. Yeah, I got you, Chris.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Somebody said it can. Okay, it must be zoned out. But no, that's the gameplay they give us is that you have to work efficiently, and that exam content outline is there to help you. In people, so I break it down for you. In people domain, people is about. I'll make sure I'm not gonna go over time. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make a 2 minute. This is a. I'm gonna do my Toastmaster 2 minute table topic. Table topic. People domain. Servant leadership. What is it? You need to know what that is. If you apply that leadership modality to those people scenarios questions, that's how you answer it. Are you helping them? Are you being a servant? How are you helping to make that person better? How are you collaborating? That's another thing they talk about on this exam, collaboration. How do we work together? It's a collective effort. There should be no point where you're trying to flex your authority. If any question is leading you down that path, that's the wrong answer. Automatically, there should be a holistic solution to the people problem. And look for that. That's what you want to look for. Just try it. Those of you who've already taken it, key up some questions, key up 5 or 10 questions, and put yourself in the mindset. And I kind of want to get away from that because what they're testing is your judgment as a leader. That's what they're testing. Are you making good decisions based off of the way you should be thinking as a project manager? And you should be moving as a servant leader in an organization. That's how you should be moving when it comes to the people domain. How are you serving the stakeholders? How are you serving your project team members? How are you serving the vendors? Even if they do something wrong, how are you still trying to be a servant versus penalize them for not meeting the standard? Boom. That's good. So processes. I think I got 2 minutes on that one. So processes. Page 22 in the agile, then the process group of practice guide has the five process groups and the 49 processes, right? Print that
Yeah, what
page
page
out.
did
I
you
have
say?
it there.
What'd you
Page
say?
22.
It's on
22.
21, actually. I got 21.
Well, if you got the book or the PDF.
I got the PDF. Sorry.
Okay. The 20, if you got the book, it's page 22. If you got a PDF, yes, it might be on that page. But out of the book I'm reading, anywhere in there, that's the page you're looking for. It's called the Process Group Project Management Processes. You got to know that. The next one, page 33. And this page is project plans and documents. You have to know the difference. They'll throw those words around for you and use plans and documents. And project artifacts consist of project plans and documents. Anything you're using on the project to plan or to track data is a project artifact, right? You'll hear them talk about that, and that's a big section right there. One that Tasha spoke of. I think it's on page 311. The earn value calculation summary table. Page 311. In there. That's what it's called. Table 10-1. There's earn value management formulas. Right? That's where most of your work. And these key pages of information are what you want to put in your Rolodex or your own little study guide. And that's what I suggest to you. There's a lot of study guides available online, and then we have these practices, these reference materials from the PMP guide and this process group of practice guide. But in some way, you have to develop your own study guide. And what I'm giving you, those pages are a good start to developing a base of information. Like, I need to know this code, or I need to understand these 1, 2, 3 pages, right? You need to, I think I'm missing one right now. But I think I hit the main ones there for you. And I think we talked about the role of the project manager for you. But in processes, the Agile Manifesto, right? That's another item. Read it and just understand the concept, because just by understanding that concept, knowing the concept of the Agile Manifesto is going to help you answer that 50-50 question on the exam about Agile. Because one's going to lean towards more of a predictive mindset where you're very rigid and you don't want changes, and it has to be documented and it has to get authorization and go through a long drawn out process, versus Agile is fluid. It welcomes changes because we're operating in an environment of uncertainty. In the focus is, how do I serve the customer versus how well do I execute the plan? That's the difference. That's the variance between the two that they're trying to paint. So if you look at the Agile Manifesto and you look what picture they're painting when it comes to the predictive approach, That's the nuance you will see on the exam, is that one's like, yeah, let's work together. Yeah, no, let's work it out. Where, well, the plan doesn't say this. So in order for us to do this, we need this approved. And in order to get it approved, it needs to go through these 5 channels. Right. And that's what they're giving you when they're looking at it. And you have to make an assessment of the environment to determine what will be work for you. And to sum it all up for business, the business domain, contracting. That's where you need to be familiar. If you've worked in the contracting realm and worked with government contracting, RFPs and industry days, and the different types of contract vehicles, time and materials, a fixed price, those are the terms you have to be familiar with, and how those, all you need to know is how those contract vehicles, what they are and what their pros and cons are to each is. And that's, in a nutshell, is how some of the main takeaways for each domain when it comes for this exam to work through. So those of you who are, you're recalibrating. So don't do a mind dump and feel like you got to start over. Figure out where you're at right now. Think about what you did before you took the exam, and then what can I do to readjust to get aligned to filling in those gaps. And if you felt like you didn't do enough practice questions the first time, then do the opposite. Do practice questions till you blue in the face, right? But I guarantee you will pass. I guarantee you pass. So no, I know that was a lot. I'll record this and push this out to you to be in the thread. You'll be able to go back and watch this and download. I'll post it for you to review this in the future. So any questions? I know that was a lot, but it's the best I could do right now. And then next week, you can message me. Like Tasha said, I'm available. I have I do these open. We have over like 500 people in the group now. So um, I'm open for some messaging. But if you want a one-on-one, there is I think the best option is for you is to upgrade to the VIP. And then if you want to get access to all the recorded stuff that I've done before, you could go ahead and upgrade to probably the premium tier, where I have most of the recordings and some teachings I put in there with these key information. But if you want to get me one-on-one with my schedule, that's where you're going to get that in the VIP. And I have a group just like this, just for those members. So we like get right in the nitty gritty to deal with what you're working with. So if you just come to the community session like this, please be intentional. Bring something for me to work on. So this is a general discussion. I talk about this all the time. So this will get you going in the right direction. But when you start working through it, you're going to need something more specific. So that's my suggestion. But hey, any questions for you? I'm not going to hold you no more. I appreciate you for stopping by. I'm glad you did, because a lot of people they're in the group, but I think maybe with timing, they're just not taking advantage of this opportunity. So.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Hey, this is
Go
Ron. If
for
I
it.
can just tag in, then. Hey, yeah, I was in your cohort earlier this year, and military took me out for a little bit, so I'm kind of looping back in, and I'm just trying to gear myself up just to go get this exam done. And I said, man, let me pop in and see what's going on. Get some of the content in my mind and start getting my mind right. So this was right on. I'm excited and definitely, man, the cohort helped. The Slack channel we had helped.
Yeah.
All of the methodologies that you shared and just the feedback, man. Definitely I see myself applying it at work already. And now it's just a matter of like, Jay, just go get this paper, man. So I'm
Yeah.
planning on testing next month and pretty
Awesome.
excited about it. So want to
Awesome.
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Welcome. No, that's what I to your point, Ronald. That's where I try to be a different instructor. I don't want to be a YouTube video.
Hmm.
Yes, take it back to work. That's what when you walk into the building, that's what people are gonna expect. And that's what these books are for. When we go back to our organizations, for us to implement some of these standards, and when you get your PMP, you get credit for teaching classes. So that's why I teach a lot, because I get 30 PDUs for teaching a class.
That's right.
So do a workshop once in lunchtime, do a working group to talk about this thing. And if you do that once a month for 3 years, not only are you going to have your PDUs, but you're going to be the PMP expert in the building.
That's right. That's right.
And is you're going to probably get promoted on that too. So I don't know. Play with it. I don't
Hey,
know.
that's
Get more
facts.
money.
Hey,
It's just a strategy. I don't know. You want
that's
to
real
take over
talk.
the building, start teaching. You know, start
That's it.
teaching. No, I
That's it.
appreciate you.
Get visible. Get visible. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
appreciate you, man.
man.
Thank you.
No, let them know, man. Like hey, they gonna expect you. Oh, you got your PMP? What you got for us now?